How's it going, YouTube world? This is Sam Dog, the infamous 253, coming at you guys with another video. This time I got a special guest. We are out here in Suncadia, Washington, at the property. I got my dad, Bill Strader. Everybody's doing. And tonight we are going to talk about some of our most favorite memories from all the years that we've had our season tickets for the Seattle Seahawks, which he took me to my first game in Husky Stadium back in 2000, the last year of Cortez Kennedy's career. So here we go. So, Dad, we've been doing this for a while. What do you think? You know, some of our funnest memories, probably one of the most memorable ones, started in 2005 with us. You know.
Well, I think about that game when we were playing the New York Giants.
Yeah.
And it was a Super Bowl season, and we had to finish with at least a 13-3 record to have home field advantage. And Jay Philly missed those 3 field goals.
That was a scary game because, you know, I mean, they got up there, and then who knew Feely was going to miss, you know, and then 2 in overtime, too. It's like one of the most heart-pounding moments out there. And then Brown comes in and nails the game winner.
That was awesome. I remember just the emotions up and down and those feelings that we were going to lose, but then all of a sudden we had new life every time he missed one and choked. It was great.
Yeah, there were so many fun ones. Even one game that year, back when we actually had an offensive line, you said it was against, at the time, the St. Louis Rams at the time before they moved to Los Angeles. There was one game where we just ran the ball every time and we scored because of that offensive line we had back then.
Yeah, Hutchinson and Walter Jones. I remember that the year before was the game that we had lost when they scored 21 points in the fourth quarter and then beat us in overtime.
Yeah.
And then we had held the Rams. They had punted to us, and we were up by 7, and they kicked the ball deep, and we just ran the ball down their throat and probably ate them about 8 minutes on the clock and punched the ball in. I don't think we even passed a single play on that drive, and we just jammed it down their throat with a great offensive line.
That was 2005 season still.
And wrapped up our division championship and home field advantage. That was awesome.
We wrapped up home field against Peyton Manning that year on Christmas Eve.
Was that when we did it?
Yeah, because that was when we started bringing in the beef jerky and pepperoni sticks for our tradition. Hence, we gave jerky to Norbcam. Huge shout out to Norb.
Oh, yeah.
Then coming up, I know we had some down years later on too, but then when we first got Pete and John, one of our most memorable nights happened, obviously, when we made the playoffs with a sub 500 record, and then one of the most unforgettable moments happened with, we would have to say, when the Beastquake game was one of our best, finest hours because of what happened during the time when that run came right toward us, and the crowd was just thundering loud.
Yeah, that was such an awesome run. What I remember most about that particular game was just the reaction with you and me and
Jeremy
Bryant. It was just like kind of a big group hug. That was
like,
such an exciting moment. You know, beating the former Super Bowl champs, getting a playoff win. That was so awesome.
Yeah, and Jeremy had us in his arms like crazy. It was like
we
were just going side to side, and it was like we couldn't even control ourselves. That was just a magnificent run because we knew that we had a chance to upset the defending champs, and that run was the dagger right there.
That was a great memory. That was a lot of fun.
And then also coming up years from now too, and then I think another fun memory also was in that 2012 season too, when we beat the Patriots that one time. Obviously, we lose them in Super Bowl 49 though, which we won't really talk about that. But there were some good games in 2012 too. But 2013 season, that for me that is the greatest season in Seahawks history.
Well, I think about Russell's rookie year too, when we were in that Atlanta game, that great comeback that we had. It was a shame that it fell short, but man, that was such an awesome comeback, just to be down so far and to be right into that game and knowing. Remember that year, Sam? That year we beat Arizona by like 54-7. We beat San Francisco
we beat Arizona 58-0.
Yeah,
and then we beat the Bills.
Buffalo. We beat San Francisco.
We beat Green Bay on the Fail Mary, and then we beat Tom Brady by 1.
We beat San Francisco at home. We just pounded them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really thought that year, Russell's rookie year, the way we were playing at the end of that year, I really felt that we were the best team in football. Had we just kicked a field goal of that first half in that Atlanta game, you know, we would have won that game. I think we would have beaten San Francisco at home. I think the end of Russell's rookie year was really one of our best teams. It's just a shame that we fell short in Atlanta.
Yeah.
But then I think about the following year, being at that NFC Championship game.
But before that, let's talk about that comeback we had against Tampa Bay.
Oh God!
And then the Houston one. Hard to sit through that first half of Tampa Bay game being down 21-0. And then we start making the crawl back when Russell hits Curse for the touchdown, and then he runs in another one. It took a little bit to tie that game because on a drive, Wilson threw an interception in the red zone. But then we were able to get back, and then Baldwin caught the touchdown, and then we got the ball in overtime. And that was tough to sit through that one. But then getting down for Hausch could have kicked the game-winning field goal. And then another fun memory from that one, too, was blowing out the Saints on Monday Night Football.
Oh, that was great.
To reclaim the noise record, which I know Kansas City would.
You know what I loved about that game? It was the next day. The next day I was listening to talk radio, and they were playing the game from the New Orleans Saints, broadcast. And Bobby Hebert was one of their guys, and he goes in the first half. He goes, I don't know. It was after the game was over. He goes, "That was just an old-fashioned ass whooping." That was great.
But
that was a dominant game. It was a great performance. I love that game.
But then later on, when going through the playoffs, I know we barely beat the Saints in that game against the Saints, and then of course the NFC Championship game. Those were by far the hardest games of the playoffs. But that NFC Championship game, I know the way that started when we got sacked by Aldon Smith and Russell fumbled it, but the way we held him to a field goal, just the way that whole game went. That NFC Championship game, again, where Sherman's tip happened, that was
a great game because if you look at those last 3 drives that San Francisco had, we had 3 straight takeaways. That was probably our best defensive quarter that I've ever seen the Seahawks play. That was just awesome. And then sitting in that end zone, and Tracy and I are sitting there, okay, we're going to lose by 1 or win by 6, lose by 1 or win by 6, and then Sherman gets that tip.
Yep.
Oh my God, that was such an awesome play. That was such a great moment.
It didn't hit me till Jeremy said we're going to the Super Bowl.
Oh, I remember that.
And that's when it hit me that it's like, oh my gosh, we're going. And then winning that Super Bowl in Renton, the way we blew out Denver, and my dad always says this, the play that set the tone for that game was Cam's hit on Demaryius Thomas in Super Bowl 48. And there are so many just great plays, but I know a lot of people say, of course, yes, our defense did do a lot in that game, but what people mostly forget, some of the idiots forget, Wilson, I know, sorry, I should never put it like that, but a lot of people seem to forget, Russell played a perfect game that night, too, in the Super Bowl.
Russell had a pretty high quarterback rating.
Yeah.
Good game. 206
passing yards, and, of course, a lot of rushing yards from Marshawn, and then we brought home the Lombardi, and we froze our rears off at that parade. Of course, we were in the stadium. That
was cold.
Yep, but it was totally worth it, especially when celebrating by the tunnel and Cam Chancellor came over by me because 4 days before that, I used one of my picks for a throwback Thursday before we won the Super Bowl. And then, of course, obviously, one of the funnest experience ever we had definitely was when we went to Super Bowl 49. I know we lost in
No. What about that NFC
but
Championship
before that,
game?
The NFC Championship game against Green Bay, the Emerald City Miracle.
That game right there, that game, that first 3.5 quarters was the worst game I ever saw Russell play. And then to see that game turn around, remember on that fake
the fake field
goal, and then somehow we held them. We got a touchdown, then the onside kick, and then that freaking Hail Mary for the 2-point conversion
to Luke Wilson, who's now in Detroit.
That game right there, man, I'll tell you, the way that stadium was just shaking.
I'm glad I did not leave that game. I almost thought about it, but I just knew, just stay in there. I'm glad I did not leave the stadium.
Yeah, I never saw that stadium that loud. That was probably the most incredible game, most improbable comeback ever. That was such a fun place to be. The first 3.5 quarters totally sucked.
Exactly.
But that last 7-8 minutes of that game that was the most awesome experience that I've ever had watching football. That was a lot of fun. Probably the worst experience I ever had was that stinking pass that Butler intercepted.
Yeah, it happened. Arizona. We were in that end zone too. It sucked, especially being surrounded by Patriot fans. But thank God they weren't the kind that rubbed it in, our face or anything. Thank God it wasn't those type. Bad kind. But we've just had so many good memories over all these years. Some other fun years too. I mean, even though we haven't been in back lately, but there were some fun games in these past few years too. For example, last year when we beat the eventual champs, that game in 2016 when we beat Philly, 2017 this past season, that was a good one.
Yeah.
But other than that, we're about to be going through some retooling, rebuilding, and just trust the process. Pete and John did it once before; they can do it again.
Yep.
And we're still going to continue to go to games, and you can definitely sometime expect a couple more videos. Just be sure to hit the subscribe button. Subscribe to me. Thank you, Dad, for coming on, and I love you, Dad.
Son.
Because would not be the person I am without you too. And just gonna get ready to sign up. Sign off here. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Keep the support going. I'm gonna get ready to go hop in the hot tub and drink a Corona. So have a good night.